everybody who's just joining. We're going to get started in a minute. Welcome to our community call. We have Drake here, the OG, and another OG, Sunslinger. And Drake will talk about payments and earning on the Metrics app and all of the cool new developments and how you can get involved as well.
Well, let me set the table as people trickle in. For those who somehow don't know me or Marina or Drake, Marina runs our community pod. I help out on community as well, and Drake has been involved since the very beginning and basically has done every role at mDAO. And currently is here to talk a little bit about how do you get paid and how much do you get paid. So we have heard some feedback that, hey, the metrics app, it's not always clear to understand when I participate, how much am I going to get paid relative to everybody else? And we wanted to talk a little bit about the tool that we use to determine that and how you can model it for yourself, and just a little bit more about how it works. And then some recent changes that we made to it as well. So we welcome questions, we welcome feedback as always. And as always, we're grateful you're here.
Awesome. Thank you, GJ. Should I jump right in then?
Jump right in.
Cool. So I think that, as you mentioned, one of the really critical pieces in the next update of payments is adding more certainty. So that certainty goes for the participants, people that are submitting dashboards or whatever it may be to the challenge that want to understand or get a sense of how much they can earn. And it also goes for operators, people that are launching challenges. They want more certainty around, what they're going to get back, what they're paying for, and they can launch challenges in marketplaces depending on the outcomes they're seeking. So a couple links in the call chat here. This first one is to GitHub, and I'll go ahead. Can I share my screen in these calls now, Marina?
You can. It's not super reliable for everyone, but technically you can. Let's give it a go.
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
And for those who might not, sorry, go ahead.
Please go ahead.
So for anyone who might not be able to see your screen, you're showing the GitHub link right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
And specifically a comment that I left on here a couple weeks ago, which just gets into how this works. So right now, in the existing application protocol V1, every challenge is launched with a pool, and that pool is fully distributed regardless of outcome. So honestly, there's some interesting exploit paths in there. If you see a challenge that has no submissions, you could theoretically submit spam and earn the whole pool, which doesn't make operators happy because they're looking for specific outcomes. They don't want to spend a full pool on one bad payment or one bad submission. They want to, solicit 10 outcomes and pay those according to their quality.
Drake, let me really quick just pause here because a bunch of people join in the last 1 minute. I won't interrupt you again, but wanted to say for everybody who's coming, we're talking about how much you get paid, how it works, why we did it that way, and how it's changed recently. Also good to see everybody. Just setting the table. Drake, back to you.
No, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so I'll repeat as well that one thing that we really want to emphasize in this update is certainty. So certainty for providers that are making submissions and certainty for operators that are launching challenges. So instead of a single pool, it's now more the concept that we have a reward budget that is split up into chunks, and each provider has an opportunity to earn a full percentage of their chunk. Which I also shared in the chat. This one's called bucket enforcement. And we can see that if we have a provider pool of $5,000, a provider limit of 20. So another update here is we're not going to allow unlimited actions anymore for providers or reviewers. We can take very large numbers here, but just in terms of actually cutting the pool into its respective pieces, we do need a limit. So in this case, 5,000 divided by 20, each provider has the opportunity to earn up to $250. And we can see that we can take this structure, and using these columns here, we can basically assign a multiplier to these buckets. So anyone that scores a 90 or above earns 100% of their share. So we can see here that this submission earned a 95, it earns 250. It's full share of the piece of 5,000. One that falls into the range of 50 to 75 would earn 50%. So we can see here these are earning 125. And we can mess with these ranges and these multipliers. So if we have one that's more aggressive, maybe we really want people to be scoring higher, and we're going to pay out based on that. Here, people that score over 80 get 70%, over 90, 100%. And we also have this other one that we're looking at called pass-fail. So some cases where challenges might be simpler, maybe more focused on action-based. You can imagine a quest-type product using a pass-fail enforcement. And the other thing that we'll see that's interesting here is operators will have remainders. So we can see in this case, there's a total pool of $5,000, but there's only $500 in earnings. So the operator actually can pull back $4,500 here because basically it didn't get 20 outcomes up to their quality. So it's a lot of changes.
Lots going on. Let's talk really quick about buckets, because this, at least for me, wasn't intuitive. It took a couple run-throughs. So if you want to talk a little bit about buckets and ranges and how a different set of ranges would lead to different outcomes and different incentives.
Yeah, thank you, GJ. So I think that we can think about these buckets kind of like as a grading scale, right? So we might call that, and these are, I guess, the bucket ranges. So the ranges, 90 or above, we might call that an A. 75 or to 90, we call that a B. If you score a B, you earn 75% of the outcome in this curve called constant. So using this general structure, we can create a lot of different curves, and those curves are defined based on the alphas and the betas. If we look at this aggressive one, we're basically saying a 90 or above again is an A, similar to this constant, but a B here is defined as 80 and above rather than 75 and above. A C is 70 and above, whereas over here, C is 50 and above. So I think that's a helpful way to think about, within the alphas, the ranges, where do I fall? And once I have certainty of where I fall, I can very easily say, understand how much I'm going to earn. So based on the pool and the limit, I know how much I can earn as an individual. Based on my score, I know what percentage of my individual share I earn. And something that, we can all participate and collaborate on is defining the proper betas and alphas. So if, feel free to make a copy of this sheet. Let me know if you guys have any issues with that. You can play around with some different alphas and betas and understand how these, outcomes look in terms of what people score and what they earn.
Drake, who sets the bucket range and where do they do it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think that the way that we'll surface this in the application we'll actually just probably surface these names like constant, aggressive, pass, fail. In the future, we can imagine having a more complex interface, but working with the development team, we can add more of these curves. So if we have someone in the community that comes up with a good curve that a lot of other people like, we'll work with the development team to make that curve exist. We'll deploy it on chain. Once it's deployed, we can then make it surfaceable inside the application. And anyone that's launching a market can set that curve to be the payment curve for that marketplace. Right now, all the marketplaces are using the same curve, a constant Likert curve in V1, which means that it follows more like this. I actually might have So like the curve that we're using right now looks more like this. And there's no limit. So if we only had one submission, then someone could earn the whole pool. Whereas these new curves are going to be a lot more closer to again, providing that certainty, helping us understand, where do we fall, and how do I know how much I'm going to earn. GJ, please keep prompting me here. I know this is a lot of changes, so happy to kind of go over things as many times as needed.
Yeah, here's just to delve into the backstory a tiny bit. Why did we set it up this way? And I saw Chance lurking around as well. But why did we do it this way instead of the multitude of other ways that we could have set this up?
Yeah, I mean, I think that honestly, initially, I was personally really excited by the pool concept and the ability to, be able to earn the whole pool. We've found that through experimentation, through the actual submissions that we're getting, that both analysts and operators are, frustrated by that lack of certainty. So this providing the certainty and giving us more control over how our budget is used, reality that we might not need to pay out the full budget depending on the outcomes that we get, led us down this path. And thankfully, the labor markets protocol is very modular. So if other folks come up with new enforcement criteria, that's something that can be added in the future. But this bucket enforcement style is the one that we're starting with here. Again, just to really focus on that certainty for both sides of the transaction.
Yeah, love that. Let's talk a tiny bit about providers and reviewers. And this is just a simple, let's define the terms and who gets to do each of those as well.
Yeah, definitely. So about labor markets is coordinating 3 different actor groups or networks. Sponsors are the folks that are launching challenges and funding them. They'll do that inside a marketplace. So a marketplace has a set of parameters that define who's allowed to launch challenges, who's allowed to be a provider, an analyst, we might call them, submit to the challenges, who's allowed to be a reviewer. They'll oversee the challenges that have been submitted the submissions by providers and score them. So the sponsor is providing funds to pay both the providers, the analysts, and the reviewers. In both cases, these will now be limited actions. So if we have a provider pool with a limit of 20, then each provider can earn up to $250. If we have a reviewer pool with $1,000, and I think this would be more accurately called a review limit rather than reviewer, we'll accept 100 reviews. Each review in this case is worth $10. And those are paid out atomically, so reviewers earn basically the full amount for each review that they do. And we can play again with the pool sizes and the limits to really control how our funds are being used and how they're being distributed by the participants.
Let's take a really quick pause to see if anybody's got questions.
Yeah, feel free to drop questions in the chat at any point, guys. I'll see him or GJ will let me know. But so I see Playwo typing now. Again, this is quite a good set of changes. So really happy to have you guys mess with this sheet, make a copy, ask questions in Discord, get active on GitHub. Playwo, I know this is going to be an impactful change to your bot. So this is part of V2 to give everyone a little insight into what's going on with timelines right now. The V2 protocol has been written and tested. That means that it's now with our application implementation team, who is starting to expose the functionality of the protocol. And there will be a number of changes that come out over the next few weeks. So we're starting to test cross-chain payments, which is pretty exciting. We'll see that hopefully on V1 as well as V2. We have V2, which will include mBadge, so a lot more, modularity around the network control. So rather than just all challenges right now are based on our metric holdings. We're going to change that so we could theoretically say challenges in this marketplace can only be answered by the Watchmen or by Pine. And I'm really excited about that piece. And then alongside that, the new enforcement criteria.
Let's dig in on mBadge. We've had a bunch of questions recently about our metric, which is understandable for participation. One of the reasons we haven't, really just dug in to our metric is because we have mBadge, coming up. So talk a little bit more about mBadge and some of the capabilities it's going to unlock.
Yeah, let me see if I can maybe pull up some designs here that will help people understand.
And just to throw another curveball at you, it's worth digging in a little bit more. We talked about providers, sponsors. Let's talk about what a market manager is as well, just so we're all using the same.
Yeah, that's a great call out. So a market manager, let me see if I can more tabs open here. A market manager is someone that is establishing a marketplace. Right now, this is gated, but in V2, we're going to open this up completely so that anyone could do this. Again, a marketplace defines the parameters that a challenge is launched within. So we can think of a challenge as a funded instantiation of a marketplace's parameters. So we could say that, only certain people are allowed to fund challenges within this. Maybe I want to control who's allowed to do that, or, maybe again in the future, I want it to be public. Provider gating right now is only our metric, but in the future, it'll be mBadge. I'll jump over to that screen in a second. And the reviewer gating as well. So if we think about, let's see, these marketplaces are coordinating work between three groups. And when you are the marketplace manager, you establish which three groups are allowed to participate inside that marketplace. Marketplace managers are pretty sophisticated operator type, but excited to see more people dig into that and really become experts at actually setting up the best parameters for challenges to launch within. mBadge, there's more of an interface that's similar to Guild, if folks are familiar with that, where you have kind of this and/or logic. So I might want to say that someone needs to have a R metric balance of 5,000 and a Pine badge to be able to launch within a marketplace, and that they need to have either a Samurai badge, a Pine badge, or a Watchman badge to participate as an analyst. And then I might control reviews to be, just me, or just me and TJ. As a marketplace manager, I could set that up. I could fund challenges within it. Other folks could fund challenges, but it might be a bad marketplace setup. So, people might not like those settings. They might, try to make a different one. We're kind of all in this constant negotiation to understand what are the right parameters to launch challenges within. And by making this permissionless, we really open that functionality up to everyone. So it's not controlled by the bounty ops team. It's really controlled by these marketplace managers. And then the outcomes of the challenge is launched within there. So here we can see what it looks like, with some values plugged in. So in this case, they're saying that anyone could be a reviewer. There's no gating. To be able to be an analyst, you would need to have you'd either need to meet this criteria or this criteria. We can imagine that this is the Pine Champion badge. We want people that have won 2 Pine Champions to be able to participate, or maybe this is Pine Builder. We want someone to have at least 1 Pine Builder. Here again, and these values obviously are arbitrary because this is just a design. It's really up to the marketplace manager to determine the best networks to coordinate and how to tap into them. Well, we are extremely excited about 1155. So we are actually going to lean as far away from ERC20 as we can and completely into 1155. Agree that 1155 wallet support is bad, but thankfully we're all pretty good chain checkers here. So I will drop a link to this query, which will show you the network address, the badge ID, name of the network, name of the badge, and your balance, as well as a description. E2, yeah, it's definitely 1155 is where we're excited. The other thing that's worth mentioning is that E2, I believe V1 actually as well, will take any 1155. So we've launched Badger as a network definition tool. It's enabled us to have this mBadge setup, a lot of flexible on-chain credentialing, but really any 1155 can be used there. So we expect, or at least I expect personally, to see a lot more networking infrastructure built with 1155s over the next year or so, and we'll be compatible with those immediately out of the box, which is pretty exciting. What else, folks?
Other questions? We know this is a lot. We'll keep getting the message across wherever we can. I think the thing I'm most excited about is the combination here of selecting different networks and being able to select better networks that will come with mBadge when that launches. Plus, I think this structure is beneficial. Drake has said it several times. I'll repeat it. Certainty is really nice. If you put in enough work to hit the top tier, exactly what you're going to get paid. That's the way we did this 2 years ago, and a lot has changed and gotten better since then. But that's something we know that people asked for a long time, and now it's happening. So on my end, those are the things I'm super hyped for.
Yeah, again, I think that certainty is so key. In the past, like if you think about the pools, like it's very like free market thinking and like competitive, which means that a user or provider, an analyst, would generally look at the other participants in that marketplace, in that challenge to determine if they want to compete with those individuals. Whereas this is now much more of a collaborative way to solve problems. As long as you get a claim, you guys are all kind of going to be exposed to the same earning opportunity, which creates a lot more incentive for folks to work together, which means that we can drive the right outcomes for our partners. Really, the important thing that we're doing here is driving outcomes for our partners. So creating a situation that fosters collaboration along with that certainty was something that was really important and taken into account with this design.
Any other questions before we wrap?
Can I chime in with one?
Yeah.
Drake, I know you showed the like the alpha and betas and the different setups that a payment curve can have in the future. And I wonder if you're able to talk about kind of how a different layout of these can have different incentives and kind of in general, and a specific, like one of the specific use cases is something that's come up recently with some of the submissions is submissions that get marked as spam, whether whether everyone agrees with that or kind of not always. So that specific use case and kind of in general what the incentives for analytics participants would look like in different permutations.
Yeah, definitely. So again, I think like in terms of aligning incentives among the entire group, folks are not directly competing with each other so much as now, finding themselves in a more collaborative setup. So I think that'll incentivize more communication, less zero sum outcome. So folks won't need to take from others to earn. Everyone kind of has their own portion that they're able to earn. And then we can kind of change, how we think about these. So betas and alphas is kind of confusing. Honestly, we can probably refer to these more as like your grade and your multiplier. So if I get a grade of 90 or above, then my multiplier is 100 of my piece. And I can look over here and say, this max provider pay, basically. So earning equals my multiplier times my provider pay. Earns a 50 or 51 or any number up to 75 will earn 125, half of the max provider pay. But when we start to change the grade structure and the multipliers, then we can see different outcomes. So here, again, max provider pay of 250, but if I earned a 51 over here, I got $125. But if I earn a 51 over here, I earn 250 times 0.7, 175. So these values, like setting the different grade ranges and the multipliers for those ranges, is somewhere that anyone can start to contribute or collaborate in coming up with the best setup, and we can deploy those curves. The other structure here that we have is like a pass fail. So someone either earns or they don't. In the case of spam arena, I think that we can imagine a few different reasons that people are marking things as spam right now. It could be malicious, where people are trying to push another submission down to push theirs up. That really gets to the zero sum issue, which we're going to address with this. I'm curious though, is there maybe another piece of that, spam question that I can dig into?
I'd say a related kind of angle there is just reviewers being able to kind of spot that something's not right with the submission and communicate that kind of effectively in the way that impacts the payout for that. So if let's say one scenario is somebody marked something spam maliciously. Another scenario is it's actual spam, but some reviewers didn't. And yet another scenario is there is kind of a different concern or flag with the submission that's not spam, but like what are some of the ways of, or what will be some of the ways of articulating that for reviewers to have access to?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So I think like when we think about the like rate that we have right now and the scoring options, like, I don't know, maybe there's stellar, good, average, bad, and spam. Like the real way to think about these is like we're adding numbers. So like a score of stellar is 100, good is 75, average is 50, bad is 25, spam is 0. So like the word spam is just a reviewer indicating that they think the score needs to go down. And they're saying basically, like, I reviewed this and I don't think that my review should add any value. I actually think my review should take value away. So yeah, it could be a couple different scenarios where it actually is spam. It could be just that a reviewer really doesn't like a submission and wants to score it badly. In terms of reviewer behavior, that really is up to those review networks and them, kind of, again, working collaboratively to understand how are the right ways to score the various submissions that come in. We see a lot of good discussion about submissions and scores in Discord, which is great. We also have reviewer comments coming in app, so reviewers can leave a little bit of a defense for their score or an explanation for their score when they make it. But we've seen folks ask, like, hey, I see other people mark this as spam. I don't think it's spam. Can you explain to me why? And that kind of ongoing collaborative effort to highlight the best outcomes. Again, as an organization, our primary goal here is to provide outcomes for our partners. So collaboratively working together as analysts, collaboratively working together as reviewers to find those best outcomes and properly align incentives to the people that are meeting those outcomes is really critical.
We are way over time. I love that a bunch of questions picked up at the end. So we'll share the recording for this. We'll continue to share more information as we get closer to V2. And then obviously we're super excited once V2 comes out to play with this and see what everybody thinks and continue making changes to make experiences better.
Awesome. I really appreciate you guys letting me talk all through all of this. I apologize. My voice probably sounds awful. I'm a lot more excited about this than I'm probably able to communicate. But looking forward to more questions and excited for us to continue moving forward on this project together.
Thanks so much, you both. We are really excited for this. And if anyone's watching live, you can also get more excited by getting some Xmetric for popping by. There's a link in the chat. Obligatory plug, but I hope you take advantage. And yeah, I'm going to pass it back to you, GJ.
Cool. I think that's all we had for this showing. If there are topics you want us to address in the future and, a few people are interested in them, we'll make those part of the workflow. Otherwise, I think the next time we'll see everybody is next Tuesday for another dashboard teardown. And just a reminder that our Monday team calls are always open. So drop by. And thank you, Drake, for coming to let us take a peek behind the curtain.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Talk to you soon.
Have a good one. All bye.